Hello, everyone. This is author, motivational speaker, and dating coach Matthew C. Horne. And I bring you a video tonight titled, She's Not More Rogue, You're Just More Aware. I got one for you. But before we go any further, always know my videos in the dating space. They're brought to you by my books, How to Get Beautiful Women and Everything Else You Want from Life, in addition to How to Be Appealing to Successful Black Men for Black Women. They're both available at my website, www.matthewchorne.com. Get your copies. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and to continue to push me with the algorithm so I can continue to bring you these elevated messages. But let's get right to it. She's not more rogue, you're just more aware. And this message came about from my community, my dating coach community on school platform. Everybody sign up. The link to sign up is in the video description. We were having a Monday Zoom call a few weeks ago, and one of the faithful members in the community, we were having a Monday live call. We don't do them on Zoom anymore. But one of the faithful members of the community was talking about how his awareness was changing when it came to women. And he asked me, he said, Matthew, are these women just more rogue? Are they worse now? Or have they always been this way? And then he began to answer his own question because he highlighted and he indicated that the behaviors that he used to tolerate when he overvalued women and he overvalued their puthi are now reprehensible to him because he has an awareness of himself and he has an awareness of the false value of women in that puthi that the matrix and the government sold to him. And so now he's on the outside looking in, and he can't believe that he used to participate in that level of simping to tolerate that level of rogue behavior and disrespect. And so he answered his own question. No, they're not more rogue. He's just more aware. And when you get on the road to valuing yourself and to your own personal greatness, you're going to step outside of those toxic habits that you had, those low energy, low quality habits, low quality atmospheres that you were engaging in when you were overvaluing that puthi. And you allow rogue behavior to be normal in your space. And so I'm glad that the gentleman brought that up because there's a shift taking place right now. There's a shift taking place right now. And there are a multitude of messengers that are bringing men truth, and that truth is impacting men like they've never been impacted before. And there's some specific examples of where I can highlight this. We have the past election at the end of 2024 with Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And I remember, we'll call him Barry O. 44 Commander in Chief, number 44. I'm not going to say his full name. Barry O. Commander 44 told black men, if you don't vote for Kamala, I'm going to get Michelle on you. And like we actually give a fuck about what he said, man. You know, black men showed up in droves and voted in accordance with whatever their interests were. Like they weren't just accepting the indoctrination anymore. And you know, we had our predecessors, you know, because we have and let me park you here for a second. You know, so Kamala Harris, you know, everybody knows she lost the election, right? And she stated in her book tour, she went on The View. This is maybe I would say a few months ago when her new book 107 Days just came out, right? And she went on The View, and as soon as she got on The View, you know, all of the elder, you know, rogue women who are on The View, the hosts, they just try to console her, like, "Are you okay?" You know, like she's still reeling from the the loss of the election. And then right on cue, they started blaming men. It's the men's fault. You know, so much misogyny. You're not ready for a woman president, you know, and all that other stupid shit. You know how they do. No accountability. And I'm going to get to that. And so Kamala Harris did something that I admired. She stopped those feminist rogue women dead in their tracks on live television, on The View. And she point blank said, I did this to myself. I lost the election due to my inability and unwillingness to speak to the economy, that I was a part of dismantling beside Biden. She said it. She says I was too loyal to Biden. Americans were asking me what kind of fix that I had for the economy, and I didn't give them any answers. She said it. She says I was rogue. I didn't do what I had to do to get the outcome that I wanted. And she says America voted for the best candidate. They voted for the candidate that they thought was best. And so she took accountability. She didn't let those rogue women of the view, you know, dismantle her accountability that she was showing. She didn't let that happen. She didn't let them absolve her of her role in her losing the election. And it was a hard lesson to learn. I know Simon and Schuster gave her about 25, 30 million at least, to talk about it, the 107 days that, she campaigned and ran, but she came straight out with it. And, we had our predecessors. We had our Tom Leykis. We had our Patrice O'Neal, the first real red pill comedian. We had our, who else did we have? We had our Mark Rudolph, who wrote Men's No-Nonsense Guide to Women. We had Shahrazad Ali, who wrote, and we're talking from 90s to early 2000s, before this red pill thing really picked up, before this awareness campaign really picked up towards men. We had Shahrazad Ali, who wrote The Black Woman's Guide to Understanding the Black Man. And Shahrazad Ali, her, Mark Rudolph, they were going tours with their books. And Shahrazad Ali was the first person. She was literally Kevin Samuels of the 90s, a Black woman holding Black women accountable. And she faced so much backlash through her media tours for her books and her media appearances. She had to keep private security around her 24/7. And that shows you how foreign accountability the form of a concept accountability is to women. It's just the way it is. And that's why rogue behavior is normal. And that's why you're going to see it as you separate from being able to tolerate rogue behavior. When you come to an awareness of who you are, what you have to offer, and you see the balance that should pervade your life, and not the submission to women that the matrix is telling you should pervade your life. Barry O 44 told us to submit to his wife like he submits to his wife. He says he's going to get her on us like she gets on him. We don't give a fuck. And that's the beauty of the awareness of quote unquote red pill knowledge. I'm not going to, definitively, pair myself with, the core values and things like that. When I say red pill, I'm going to say awareness. That's how far I'm going to go with it. Critical mass of awareness that's pervading the minds of men. And Kamala Harris actually talked about how Fresh and Fit. No, it was Myron Gaines and Andrew Tate actually swung the election away from her. She said it in her book. She said it in her book. I couldn't believe it. She's very transparent. And she says that they took the young male vote away from her, the 30 and under vote away from her, and that swung the election in Trump's favor. And there's probably some relevance and credence to that. Because one I'm not going to get too political. I'm not going to take a side. I'm just going to say, one candidate spoke in very straight lines, gave solutions, gave plans. The other one talked about the old country in Jamaica. When she was asked about the economy, she admitted it. She dropped the ball. And right on cue, Kamala Harris took accountability on The View. She didn't let those womanists and feminists and, rogue women, she didn't let them absolve her of the truth. She wanted to tell America the truth. It's too late in terms of why she squandered the election, but she told it. And then right on cue, the Democratic Party, they spent $20 million after Kamala Harris lost the election on the Speaking to American Men's Project. It's a SAM initiative. It's the acronym, SAM Initiative, SAM Project, Speaking to American Men. And why did they want to spend $20 million to speak to American men? because that's an open acknowledgement that, yeah, those young men did play a part in swinging the election to the Republican Party and to Trump. But why do they need to? Why do they need to spend $20 million? Right? Let me go a little deeper into this. Because once upon a time, when there was a leader that could initiate a critical mass of awareness that goes against the government, they could slice that movement off by killing the leader. We'll just be point blank about it. They will eliminate the leader. They'll do something to get the leader out the way. More often than not, historically, is death. But since there's so many voices now, we don't have that small group that I named of the Rudolphs and the Shahrazad Ali's, Patrice O'Neill's, Tom Likas. Those were the people that paved the way. But their voices weren't a threat because they didn't create a critical mass of awareness. But now the election proved that this space right here on YouTube is the most powerful space that exists right now of red pill content. They had to spend $20 million to reindoctrinate men back into the matrix. Because those men didn't do anything wrong. Those men made intelligent decisions according to the information that was in front of them. So instead of the Democratic Party saying, hey, you know what? We're going to give them a better candidate. We're going to give them a better candidate this time. We're going to take responsibility. We're going to have more strategy this time and not just throw a candidate in there 107 days before the election. Nope. They say, nope, we need to reindoctrinate these men back into the matrix. We need to counter position our doctrine against the doctrine that's dominating them and liberating them. So continue to be liberated. Continue to have awareness so you can make better decisions that will work in your favor. So they spent $20 million. You can look it up yourself. It's called the SAM Act, Speaking to American Men. $20 million to reindoctrinate men, young men, back into the matrix. And it's not going to work because this side of awareness is expanded. It's critical awareness at this point. Critical mass of awareness. So, yeah, I just wanted to speak on that. And, so I like, how this, video started and what brought it about. The gentleman who's in my dating coach community, because he was awakened away from accepting rogue behavior from disrespectful women. It was a norm once upon a time, and now it's foreign. So he's now awakened. He's questioning things. That's what happens when you come into a true awareness of something. You question how you previously moved and operated. And so given that's the case, you have to think about the lack of accountability for women in society. There's no accountability whatsoever in any capacity for women in society. That's how they can remain rogue. Even the Bible says you spare the child, you spare the rod, you spoil the child. The Bible talks about when I was a child, I spake as a child, meaning that you're supposed to transition into taking accountability for your life and become an adult. And that is not present. There's nothing to encourage women to become adults in society. Every decision that they make that works against them is absolved by the government. So, and instead of, like I said, just going to an example of the government, and instead of raising up a better candidate, is nope, let's find a way so that they will accept the next rogue woman candidate that we give them. Just reindoctrinate them to accepting rogue behavior from women. That's what that 20 million is for. And it shows the agenda of the government. They're not interested in holding women accountable. And they understand if men don't accept rogue behavior from women, then the government is going to have to take care of these women. So they can't hold them accountable because they never held them accountable. What's the only other option, an alternative? It's to reindoctrinate men to accept rogue behavior as being normal. And so you have to continue your path of self-awareness and questioning things that did not work in your favor, the lies that were told to you, and finding clarity and seeing through the backdrop of what's being sold to you. They told you, the government says that pussy is everything. Spend your money for it. Commit your life to it. So we don't have to give our resources to it. That's what the government says. No mandatory DNA test at birth. No, we're not going to hold them accountable. Oh yeah, she's the only one who knows all the possibilities who the father are. Nope, nah, that's on the man. Whatever man she picked, yeah, that's cool. He can take care of her. He can take care of the little bastard. Yeah, that's none of our concern. So that's what I'm trying to say. Top to bottom, there's no accountability whatsoever. And so the government, the government wants men to absolve the rogue behaviors and consequential decisions and outcomes and residue of women being allowed to run rogue in society. The government wants to absolve them of responsibility and make men take responsibility for the decisions and the byproducts and the outcomes of rogue women's behavior. Because they're never going to hold them accountable, and somebody has to be accountable for them. And they're thinking that's us. But it's a new day. I love that Kamala Harris point blank came out and said that Andrew Tate and Myron Gaines swung the election away from her. I love that she said that. It's the evidence that it's a new day. And so if you're a simp, you're literally a fucking idiot right now, because there's so much information out here that shows you the true nature of what the government is selling you regarding women and what's actually their reality regarding women. And I hope you'll get offended if I call you a fucking idiot, and hopefully that will spark you to take part in the information that's out there that's going to work on your behalf, so that you can wake up and you don't have a rogue woman coming in and diminishing and destroying your highest quality of life that you can have. But what's on the other side of awareness when it comes to women? What's on the other side of awareness? There's a phase. And see, your tolerance always reveals your options. So a rogue woman to a simp is an option because he has the tolerance for her. He'll tolerate overextending himself. He'll tolerate glorifying her beauty and her poopy. He'll tolerate it. But when that man learns to value himself and learns that he's been overvaluing what the government and society told him was something that he should value, then he pulls his attention and his energy to himself. And when that happens, the man develops the irrefutable signs of greatness in his life, because he's focused on himself. He's not taking on societal definitions of what he's supposed to become in order to be society's definition of success. He understands internally what calls his name, his ambitions, his dreams, his inspirations. He's taking an inward journey. That's how you have awareness. You take an inward journey. And then what happens is, in this inward journey, you begin to value the best things that you have to offer to the world. Everything great happens when you offer your best to the world. Everything great happens. And so you'll go through a period where, you know how they talk about in this space, when this space was really developing, they called it red pill rage, because you realize how you've been lied to and played with and manipulated and all that stuff. But, that's one thing the gentleman said in my group. He was like, okay, I'm dealing with less women now, because he doesn't have a tolerance for the pervading rogue nature of most women that he's going to meet. So now he's dealing with less women. But when you deal with less women, the experiences become more robust. Why? Because they're balanced and you're not overextending themselves. She wants to be there just as much as you want to be there. There's no simping. There's no uneven exchanges taking place. That's what awareness will bring you. But then once you stay on the path to awareness, you're going to continue to become your best. And then one day you're going to come into the fullness of who you are. That means all of your ambitions are going to manifest, and your mind is going to catch up with the man that you've become. That's called coming into the fullness of who you are in terms of your awareness. And when your awareness expands, it can never retract. And that's what the government and society does not want to happen to me.